Hi there, and welcome to a bit of a gloomy day here in Taipei. This was actually filmed the day before my STARLUX flight. I was hungry, and as one does in Taipei, when you're hungry during the day, you go to 7-Eleven. Of course, at night you would go to the night market. I could tell you that I'm here because my flight to Saigon is STARLUX 711, 7-Eleven, which is true, but that's not the reason. Why I really came to this side of town is because of this. Not exactly my area of expertise, but how often do you get to see an airline and a convenience store collaboration? I sure as hell never have before. Now, you'll forgive me, filming inside 7-Elevens, not quite my forte, but I did think visiting this 7-Eleven would be a good way to really show how ingrained the three major airlines are in daily life in Taiwan. I'm gonna go buy my very cool seatbelt keychain, and then... here we are. It's tomorrow. I suppose gloomy is going to be a theme. Taipei has two airports, the much smaller Songshan Airport in the city center, which serves some regional and domestic flights, and then there's the much larger Taoyuan Airport to the southwest of the city. Taoyuan is the primary hub for STARLUX, along with China Airlines and EVA Air. Quite the trio of airlines, literally three of the best in the world. Just casually chilling here in Taipei. I guess that kind of tips my hat off for this review. So, before we head inside and get checked in with Spider-Man, let me introduce myself to those of you that may be new to the channel. My name is Kevin, and I am the Flip-Flop Traveler. I'm here to give you 2 honest videos each week about unique flights, hotels, and trains. This flight today was self-funded, the price that I paid is in the description, and STARLUX has no idea who I am. So without further ado, let's get into episode 316, and see what STARLUX is actually about. And here we are at Terminal 1. The airport has a bit of a unique setup in that Terminal 1 is over here, on the right side, and everything else to the left is Terminal 2. But they are all connected in what in theory is a continuous loop. Plus there's a new Terminal 3 building being built as well, the concourses of which should be open by mid next year, with the full terminal opening in 2027. Today's a pretty easy day here, but I've seen this place absolutely packed before, so they certainly need the breathing room, especially with STARLUX now added into the mix. Last year, Taiwan saw around 35 million passengers, putting it into the same league as the likes of Tokyo Narita and Hanoi Noibai. Here in Terminal 1, STARLUX has a single row of check-in desks, and there's Spider-Man. They seem to be very much into the branding collaborations. On their LAX flights, they even have LA Clippers branding. I should mention that STARLUX has a split operation now between the two terminals, and since the time of my flight, Saigon and Da Nang's flight have moved to Terminal 2, while Hanoi and Phu Quoc stay here. Let's get through security and immigration and head to the lounge. On the way, I can tell you about the 9-alarm drama that morphed into STARLUX. The current CEO of STARLUX, Chang Ku-wei, used to work at EVA Air. He was a mechanic and then a pilot, and eventually made his way to be chairman, since you know, his father was founder of Evergreen Group. Chang became chairman of EVA in 2013. 3 years later, his father died and named Chang as his successor as chairman of Evergreen Group. This is when things got a little bit spicy. Problem was, Chang was the youngest of his father's sons, from his second marriage to boot. There was more or less a coup that ensued at Evergreen, and Chang was booted from the company. Within just a few months, he had the idea to create STARLUX. The name STARLUX comes from the Chinese characters for star, in honor of his father who navigated via the stars before GPS, and the character for universe, framing Chang's own ambitions. In English, it became STARLUX. Let me pause that for a moment as we take a look at the lounge here in Terminal 1. It's small, and this is probably the weakest link of the entire STARLUX network. That said, all of the longer or more premium routes are now operating from Terminal 2, which does have a larger and newer lounge. There was a small buffet section on offer, as well as a few a la carte items, from which I chose the scallion bun and soy milk, which was actually quite a standout, all things considered. And there certainly was an attention to the small details, such as things like the ice on offer. The only other negative for the lounge is that the restroom is a solid 100 meters down the corridor outside of the lounge. So obviously, STARLUX is competing with China Airlines, but much more so with EVA. Their first flights were in late 2020, delayed due to COVID, with the first 3 destinations being Da Nang, Penang, and Macau. They've quickly expanded to their current 26 destinations with 2 more on the way by the end of the year, with an impressive operation to Japan and a stated goal of being a major player connecting Southeast Asia to the US. One very unique thing about their A350s, which they currently have 5 of, is that they actually have a true first class, something that you won't find at any of their competitors. As STARLUX says, they, quote, promise to commit to luxury that Taiwan's dominant carriers have lost sight of in recent years. Still ironic that they're talking about 2 great airlines. Also kinda cool that Chang himself flew the first A350 from Toulouse on the delivery flight. They currently have 23 aircraft on hand with 30 more on order. I got to the gate on time, but our aircraft did not. While the signs were updated in time, I was surprised that there was just no announcement. Everyone just sat idly. And here's our 2-year-old bird pulling in now. Around 30 minutes behind schedule, boarding began with business class passengers. They're not part of any alliance yet, so it was a very small Group 1. That said, there is quite a bit of speculation that STARLUX may end up joining the One World Alliance, especially since there's also speculation that Cathay Pacific may be leaving it. Then Taipei would be one of the only cities on Earth serving as a hub for all 3 alliances. As we head down the jet bridge, let's take a look at today's flight stats. I stepped on board, and there's one thing that is like the finest crystal clear as soon as you step on board. This is an airline that is here to impress, and I mean that both for the hard product and the soft product. The staff were enthusiastic, thoughtful, and knowledgeable throughout the flight, and the cabin was gorgeous. The business class on these A321neos has just 8 lie-flat seats in a 2x2 configuration. As I've said many times before, I've always liked these seats since in the seating position, I think they're actually pretty comfortable, even if they are a bit narrow when lying down. But the big differences on board this aircraft are all in the finishing details. From the leather trim, to the contrast stitching, and even things like the quality of the seatbelt, it's all just a very well-designed product. There's a fully adjustable headrest, as well as a storage space over your shoulder with a universal outlet. It was on autoplay. I was multitasking. I was feeding my dog. I was doom scrolling. These are all real reasons why I often forget to click the like button on videos that I actually did appreciate existing. So, anytime a video creator has a click the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel call to action, I'm sure to do it in that moment. Because mark my words, I will forget. Grassroots support is what keeps channels going, much more so than any algorithm ever could. I was served a hot towel along with a really good cold-pressed pineapple and guava juice. I love creative, but not too creative, signature pre-departure drinks. Across, there's a nice high-resolution in-flight monitor, along with a good-sized footrest. The storage space under the footrest is limited though. Also keep in mind that the footrests for the bulkhead where I am, in this type of seat, are around double the size of the other rows. We pushed back, and a very different, shall we say, safety video began to play. Perhaps not to Emirates' taste. We had an excruciatingly long taxi and wait in line for takeoff. At one point, we were next in line, and it honestly felt like they just forgot about us. 72 minutes from pushback to takeoff. But the spool up, takeoff, and airport stats are coming up now. So before the meal begins, let's take a look at the comforts and amenities on board today. The pillow is a decent size and quality and fresh and clean. Then there's a fantastic blanket. At first glance, it may look like a towel, but it's actually just a super soft and fluffy blanket which thankfully doesn't leave lint everywhere. As for the headphones, they were noise cancelling and actually quite good, but I think I might like the case even more than the headphones. The standard size tray table could be used fully extended or folded in half. Okay, let's get into this really good meal service. First, we'll start off with an insanely comprehensive menu for just a 3-hour flight. Note that the prices in red are my addition to the graphic, just to give you an idea of the current retail prices for each bottle of wine. I've said it before, I love drinking wine, but my knowledge is limited, so I always appreciate wine lists that go into detail about region, pairings, and tastings just like this. Of course, I chose the contemporary Asian and Longtail menu for my meal, which honestly, even if I didn't like it, I would have loved it, and I'll tell you why. It's clear that even for a single tray service, they are simply trying to elevate the experience from the ground up. For our lunch service today, we start with a pineapple pure Longtail and sparkling water. The starter is milkfish toast, avocado, daikon, and dill. Reading that, I had precisely zero idea of what format to expect that in. But I actually think this is quite clever. It's so elevated for in-flight food, but not at all fussy or difficult to serve. As for the main, we had USDA Angus beef tenderloin, pineapple rice, peanut, and pickled kohlrabi. So I have a personal, subconscious tell when I really enjoy a dish. And it looks like Well, I basically take little tiny gerbil bites. And that's precisely what I was doing with this. I think I cut each one of those beef slices into 2 or 3 pieces, and the pineapple rice was really good too. Earlier, I'd asked for a glass of Riesling, but the crew insisted that I allow them to chill it for a bit more since it wasn't properly prepared. Some attention that I appreciated. So that came along with my dessert, which was a chocolate Magao cake along with seasonal fresh fruit. In Eastern and Southeastern Asia, we are spoiled with the food offerings in business class on these regional routes. But it's worth pointing out that STARLUX is the only airline in the region right now that doesn't follow the exact same format for meals. Small salad or cold meat appetizer, plus hot pre-plated main and dessert. Cathay, ANA, JAL, EVA, China Airlines, Korean, Asiana, Singapore, it's all the same format. And it's all generally very good. But this is just a different level. I'd be really curious to try STARLUX's catering on long-haul services. More on that in a bit. Entertainment on board, it's just okay. I have little doubt that it will improve over time, but at the time there were just around 150 movies on offer, along with a handful of TV shows with random episodes. I did love the detailed map and the Inflight magazine though. There's also Inflight Wi-Fi, which is free for business class. And here we have the seat in full flat mode. Definitely not needed on this short day flight, but nice to have for sure. So, how I ended up on this short STARLUX flight. Last year, STARLUX announced a partnership with Alaska Airlines, and then Alaska announced that they'd be selling STARLUX tickets for points. Alaska communicated that there would be promotional fares available for the first few months. The aviation world collectively freaked out, and everyone started trying to book. At the time, I had 43,000 Alaska points. They had a promo to buy more points, and so I topped up to 60,000 miles, which would have been enough for the Taipei to LAX flight. I knew the points would take 2 days to appear in my account, but, it was fine. Alaska advertised that these fares would be available, I believe somewhere from April until August. Well, wouldn't you know, they forgot to mention that each flight only had 4 seats available at that price. By the time I went to book, everything was more than double the price. So in the end, with my 60,000 Alaska points, I got this flight plus a long-haul LATAM flight, as I decided to dump Alaska altogether before they continued to devalue their program. So I did want a long-haul flight, and I still do, perhaps now even more so, and I'll keep my eyes open for them. That said, this was a really nice first taste of what will clearly be, a major player in the market. Oh, and did I mention yet that they even began turning a profit last year? Yeah, long term. Okay, so I'll let you enjoy the rest of the approach into Saigon. The airport stats are coming up. And so, that is that. We were late, the airport was absolutely mobbed, but I was still on cloud 9, so I didn't even care. STARLUX, I will be back. And if you join Oneworld, or Any alliance, frankly. I'll be back pretty often. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time from a surprise out-of-order flight on an airline that needs to do a hell of a lot better protecting passenger data. You don't want to miss this one. Oh, and as always, thanks for watching until the end.